Another year, another controversial Talladega race. We just had the playoff race for Talladega, and of course, no one's talking about the great 3, 4, and 5 wide racing throughout the day. They're not talking about the really competitive race with a lot of people coming up and leading. They're not talking about any of that. Instead, once again, we're talking about controversy. We're talking about the yellow line rule. We're talking about NASCAR officiating. We're talking about everything but the good in the race. Now, I know that NASCAR really at this point can't help when NBC moves the coverage somewhere else. That's just something they're bound by a terrible TV deal with. But what about the Superspeedway racing? I'm asking, what is the problem with it right now? Because I hear everybody complaining about it. I hear everybody saying what we need to change, but is there a problem? And if there is, what really is it? So I'm going to look at a few things today that I have noticed over the years, some things that people are bringing up right now, and we're going to really get to the bottom of this. So starting off, we got to look at the new package for it, the one that we've had since really, I think, last year. This package is amazing, for racing at least. You get huge runs in the draft. You have people racing side by side. People can't stay up the front all day. It's everything that people want from Talladega and Daytona races. Now, understand, after what happened with Brian Newman, we do need to be more conscious of the safety aspect of it. And I don't think that should be lost. NASCAR actually addressed this, slowing the cars down. Now, I did hear during the day on MRN that they were getting up to 204 again, so maybe NASCAR needs to do something again heading into 2021. But the package itself, racing-wise, is actually really good. I really like it. It's my favorite one since the old Gen 4 days. And that's saying a lot for somebody who is relatively old-fashioned with my drafting at Talladega and Daytona when I want to watch. So for me to say that is saying something. But I do understand people being a bit concerned about seeing flips on a regular basis. I mean, and when we're not seeing flips, we're seeing people get in the air. Kyle Busch got a little bit of air on the backstretch. Kurt Busch got air right in front of me when I was at the race. I saw it. I wish I could have recorded it, but I just was in shock in that moment, seeing Kurt Busch basically eye level with the guy in the flag stand, it seemed like, from our point of view. But at the same time, if NASCAR can address this, figure out ways to keep the cars on the ground without changing great racing, I think they need to do that. Because the Superspeedway races this year and last year have been some of the most fun races to watch, and they're also some of the most talked about, for good and bad reasons. I don't think, though, that this package is the reason we're having so many problems right now. I really don't. I think it might be a contributing factor, but I don't think it's a main reason. I think that one of the biggest reasons, and it might even be the biggest reason, is the drivers themselves. Now, people will be like, well, it can't be all the drivers. A lot of them are really good. A lot of them win a lot. But I've noticed that we have a younger crop of drivers who don't really know how to draft as much. They make a lot of boneheaded moves. They try and do things that most of the veterans wouldn't do. And it shows. The inexperience shows, especially with as big of runs as you get with this package. And you see this a lot with younger drivers in general. There's a lot of younger drivers back in the day who made a lot of boneheaded errors at these tracks. But at the same time, you have to look at who has left and how some of the older drivers, too, have been getting a little more desperate. You look at guys that have left. Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards. Now, you look at some of the drivers over time that have come in. Younger drivers. They make more erratic moves. Generally, younger drivers are more aggressive. So I think that if a lot of these drivers are given time to mature and to come into their own, I think that part of this problem of crashes at these tracks being constant can be a self-solving incident. I mean, you look at some drivers who have caused some crashes in the past or been really aggressive, like Brad Keselowski, for instance. He was somebody who was really aggressive, and a lot of trouble could be caused by what he did at the tracks. But over time, he honed in his craft and has become a quite formidable superspeedway racer. More often than not, if he's in a crash, it's somebody else's fault. I think the biggest problem is this new format that we've had since 2014. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, good Lord, here you go again. Here's somebody else who's going to be saying how bad the playoffs are. I'm not going to rip on the playoffs overall. You can leave that debate for somewhere else. I'll talk about it in future videos, on live streams, whatever. I'm specifically talking about these 4 races a year where anybody can win where it's a winner-take-all point system in a lot of ways, and where one win can change an entire season and maybe an entire career. And I know that could happen before this format was in place, but now you're so much more recognized. Yeah, somebody who was running 30th in points could win a race back in the day from 2013 on back, and they'd be recognized that week, maybe even have some stuff sprinkled throughout the year that people would talk about with it. But now, if you win one of the first 3 races of Superspeedway races in the year, you're going to be put on the same stage as championship contenders. Literally, you'll be on the same stage. That's what I'm talking about. Drivers are going to be more aggressive and they're going to be more reckless. You have a system that promotes aggression, that promotes 100% constantly, 110% constantly. And then you'll wonder why they're making these boneheaded moves, these desperate moves you have during the race. The stages, for instance, they cause drivers to be more aggressive to get more points. Obviously, that's what we want, but a lot of times drivers will take it over the edge because they need those points. Every point is still crucial. Points racing is still there. People think it disappeared with this new format. It didn't. A good points day is now something throughout the day. So you're going to see a lot more of these wrecks throughout the day. And I think this is something that people aren't going to talk about with it. They're going to blame everything else under the sun but this reason. And I'm not saying this to say that the playoffs are bad or they're good or whatever. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to make some big grandstand here. I just think it is a huge factor that wasn't there before. You see a lot more people, especially in the last couple of years, talking about this. So this problem, in my opinion, has at least some partial blame on the system. It's a side effect of this system. Just like at road courses with the stage racing, it diminishes that, but makes the mile and a halves better, in my opinion. It's something that you can't have these rules fit all, but it has to be something that's addressed, and it has to be something that we all at least can acknowledge at this time is true. Now, I think that one of the biggest, if not the biggest reasoning for a lot of these problems, because the Superspeedway racing problems aren't just crashing, it's also a lot of these rules at it. Rules are different here. They're different at these tracks. And NASCAR officiating, in my opinion, is one of the biggest ones to blame on this. Now we're going to look at the finish of this race and stuff that happened throughout the day. The double yellow line rule. I'm going to be real. I'm with Dale Jr. on this one. Abolish it. NASCAR's claim on this one is that if the double yellow line rule wasn't in effect, it'd be full-on anarchy at these races. And I'll ask, what the hell have you called these last couple Superspeedway races? Was it just controlled anarchy? You have had these same exact problems that you said you would have without the rule with it. You look in the past, and you've had consistently inconsistent calls on a regular basis. Carl Edwards in the Bud Shootout avoids a wreck, passes 2 cars, loses positions in doing it though, gets penalized. Brad Keselowski is so afraid of going under the yellow line rule that he stays on the track, holds his ground, and flips Carl Edwards up into the catch fence. I don't blame Carl Edwards, and I don't blame Brad Keselowski for it. They were playing under the rules that they had. You look at why they're playing under those rules, especially at that time, because of Regan Smith in 2008. Gets forced below the yellow line by Tony Stewart, tries getting back up in a bottleneck area where the apron is larger, so it looks like he's down there longer and not trying, and he gets a win taken away. So you're going to see the exact same thing next year at Daytona. Somebody is going to try to avoid, without a doubt, going to try to avoid the double yellow line and cause a wreck. It causes more danger than it actually would prevent. And this is something I don't get. Yes, you had clips in the past where people would go under the yellow line, about to go in the corner, and cut it close. I will acknowledge that. Unsafe? Yes. Is it as unsafe as flipping somebody in the fence? You debate that. But people are acting like that drivers are going to go all the way down to the inside line of the back stretches of Daytona and Talladega, that they're going to try and cut the track, just acting like these drivers have no sense of self whatsoever. If these are the best drivers in the world, like we so oftenly tout, they should be able to know what their boundaries are. Push the boundaries? Sure. But they're not going to go down all the way on the bottom of an apron, 40 feet down, and then try and cut back into the track. If they do, I'm sorry. They're really, really dumb in that moment. I don't think that they're going to be doing that, though. Know what I said before about younger drivers making worse decisions, but I really don't think that some of the drivers who have caused problems with other people there, guys like Alex Bowman or Ryan Blaney, I don't think they're going to make those bad decisions. I really don't. They're maturing as drivers, and just as a driver that's a professional in general, I think they would understand that, yeah, trying to basically have a 90-degree turn up the track going into turn 3 at Talladega because the grass is coming on the apron, I don't think that they would put themselves in that position. What drivers need to do with this is have a self-policing policy. Basically, just settle it amongst themselves. And you know what? If I'm wrong, if it's incredibly more dangerous without this rule, when they take it away, then they can put it back in place. But something has to be done right now because what we have now is not cutting it. I know NASCAR won't do anything about it because they want people talking about the controversy. All publicity is good publicity, right? But, I mean, come on. You gotta do something right now. The last one, and I have been very vocal that I think the fans have more responsibility in a lot of problems in the sport than they want to acknowledge. I think fan expectation is something that is to blame as well. Fans basically want 2001 to 2007 Gen 4 pack racing. And then they get it. And then they don't like it because there's more wrecks than before. There's different factors right now. You're getting the same racing, just with a 2020 film over it, basically. So, fans need to know what they want. They act like they want wrecking, but then complain when they have too much wrecking. They act like they want this old package basically back, and we basically get this old package back. That's what I think is another thing. Fans just need to pick what they want. They can criticize, yes, but this constant complaining about every single thing about these races is just driving me up a wall. You don't need to complain about every damn thing. Yes, there's problems with this racing. I've acknowledged them in the first few points that I made. But we're getting what we wanted. We've asked for this kind of racing at these two tracks since the Gen 4 era. We finally got it back. I don't want to lose it because we don't realize what we want. So that's it, man. That's what I got. I think the Daytona and Talladega racing package right now is great. I think we need to make a few rule changes, and I think that drivers just need to have a bit of a reality check with it. But I want to know what you think now. I'm one person. I gave my opinion. Let me know down in the comments below what you think should be done and what your take on all this is. Maybe you think everything is great. You loved what happened at Talladega. That's completely fine. Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.
Yeah, I got a great idea for everybody. How about we just get rid of the yellow line rule? Nobody really wants to see the races come down to these type of decisions, and I don't think it's going to crash more cars than we crashed today. So, you know, it's kind of frustrating to have to make these decisions. I know NASCAR doesn't want to be put in this position, so let's just get rid of it get rid of it from here on out. Just let these guys race it out, at least in the last few laps. They're going down there below the yellow line anyways. It takes everybody sort of out of the position of having to make these type of calls because it's not fun. But definitely kind of agree with the decision they made as per the rule and how it's written. But we could just get rid of it altogether. Be great with me.